Good hello friends and welcome back to my channel. So as you may or may not know, I posted a video talking all about the series that I want to finish this year, and The Folk of the Air was one of them. So let's talk about The Cruel Prince. The Cruel Prince follows Jude and Cardan as Jude has been taken away from her human world and taken to the Fae world. She's kind of part of the Fae world because the man that raised her is Fae, and so she has some inclination as to what this world is like, but not a lot. Jude quickly gets swept into the Fae world, and in order to kind of appease Prince Cardan, who is the main male character, I don't want to call him a protagonist or an antagonist, he's just kind of there, honestly, but I did love his presence in book 1. So since I did an absolutely terrible job of explaining what the Cruel Prince was, and I don't even know where that sentence was going, I'm here to fix that. So The Cruel Prince starts off with us being introduced to Jude, who has been taken into the Fae world by her stepdad, technically Maddox, since she was 7, because her parents were both killed. And so now 10 years later, we see Jude and Cardan absolutely hate each other in this Fae world. Jude has learned what all the antics of the Fae world are like, all the do's and don'ts, but that doesn't stop the human versus Fae dynamic that we have going on. There's a whole lot of nothing that happens in book 1, and then everything kind of climaxes in book 2, and I get that's the whole point of like rising action and whatnot. But there wasn't much excitement until the very end, and seeing the dynamic that they had was what led this to be a 5-star read. I really ended up loving it by the end. When I read this for the first time, I posted a blog post with my review, which I will go ahead and link down below because it was part of a series called the Late to the Party series, where I read books that were extremely hyped, and quite frankly, I loved The Cruel Prince. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I actually reread it earlier in January of 2020, and I loved it again. I didn't exactly annotate it. I only have I don't know if you can see, but I only have 3 tabs in it. 2 parts that made me angry and 1 quote, so there's that. But I really enjoy The Cruel Prince. I enjoy the dynamics that were going on in this. We were off to a great start, then it went downhill from there. Introducing The Wicked King, Book 2. I had so many people tell me in my TBR video that when I was going to read this, I was going to be blown away. I was going to have such a good time. It was going to be so different, but also so similar and fast-paced and this and that. And I was so incredibly disappointed by the sequel. I thought that we were going to get some really intense consequences from book 1. I think that a lot of stuff was almost underdone in this book. Throughout this entire novel, there is this foreboding sense of betrayal that's going on, and I can completely understand that considering the nature of this novel and the characters that we're introduced to. I think that some of the familial aspects and the secondary characters that are in this world come into a really interesting way. Considering this book is called The Wicked King. The king, hi, spoiler alert if you haven't figured out that from The Cruel Prince to The Wicked King, the king is Cardan. Yeah, so considering the fact that Cardan is the king in this story, we didn't really see a lot of him. We saw just, I don't know. I definitely thought that it was fast-paced enough. I started it this past Friday, and then I read the last, I don't know, 170 pages or so lounging outside. And if I didn't binge it, I feel like it would have taken me a lot longer to read it. I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. I was really disappointed, and it doesn't exactly get better from there. And finally, we get to The Queen of Nothing, book 3 in the series, which I listened to on audiobook. I finished this in a day and a half, so I read it almost immediately after I finished The Wicked King. I definitely liked it a lot more than The Wicked King, but I still only gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Something I forgot to mention in book 2 is the fact that Jude and Cardan start to finally develop their romance. And so in book 3, we really start to see their dynamic grow even more, and I really, really appreciated that. But still, we saw so much more from Jude and Maddox, and quite frankly, Maddox is a piece of garbage. So I think the first chapter really brought me in emotionally back into the series because I found that in The Wicked King, I really didn't care about the characters. And going from really loving the characters in The Cruel Prince and then jumping into The Wicked King and just feeling why should I care about you? You have no emotions, no morals, no psyche, no anything. It was like they were just mean to be mean, or they were just jerks. Like I just didn't like the route that the Wicked King was going. So to come into Queen of Nothing with that emotional growth reattaching was, I think, huge, especially in that first chapter. And then we get into having more scenes with Cardan in it, and I don't know if it's just me, but like, I don't know. I really like Cardan's vulnerability with Jude, and I think Jude is the more annoying one of the duo. She literally pushes people away left and right. She's like, okay, I'm gonna get my vengeance, I'm angry, I'm this. Like, I get it, don't get me wrong, I get it. But you have to let some people in. You have to be kind of vulnerable. It's a thing. And something I wrote in my review is the fact that, again, the secondary characters really show their purpose, especially when we get to the end. The twist at the end of this book is, I hated it. It's the real reason why this will never be a 5-star. I think if that twist didn't happen, this would at least be a 4-star, but like, oh my god. The whole, if you look at the cover, you kind of know what I'm talking about. But like, why did that have to be a thing? What? Why? I think the ending just kind of wrapped up a little too nicely. I do think the ending was like fairly satisfying in terms of having everyone, I don't know, not necessarily get what they want, but be able to have some sort of lasting impact. But there's just so many questions that remain unanswered. And for these 2 books to lead up to this epic conclusion and blah blah blah, like, I just don't think this epic conclusion was epic enough. And there's still too many answers that I still don't got. And quite frankly, I don't care to get them. So with that being said, The Cruel Prince still ends up being my favorite in the series. Queen of Nothing was kind of like a close second, and then obviously The Wicked King was like garbage to me. As for the physical books that I do own, I'm being really good about getting rid of books that I don't care for. So I'm for sure going to be unhauling The Wicked King. I'm going to hold on to The Cruel Prince just a little bit longer. I'm going to be holding on to The Cruel Prince for just a little bit longer to really decide if this is something that I want to keep. And quite frankly, this series is available through my library and through Scribd and through Hoopla, I believe. I'll have ways to access it if I really want to reread it. If somebody else will love this series more than I will, and if it'll find a better home on somebody else's shelves, that is perfectly okay with me. So that is one series on that list done. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you read the entirety of The Cruel Prince, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I feel like I'm definitely in the minority. This series is so beloved by so many people, and although I can understand why, it's something that just doesn't fit my tastes, and I need something a little bit more mature in how characters react. You can have vengeance, you can have anger, but there's ways to execute it that don't make you seem like a terrible person the entire time. I want to be able to like at least one character, and if not, I should hate everyone. I should hate everyone and not care for them, and that be purposeful. I feel like a lot of the characters didn't really have a lot of purpose in some of the stuff that they were doing, so for that to improve throughout the series was really important. I don't know. I think I'm in the minority with how I felt about this book and this series, but otherwise, let me know what your thoughts are, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and until then, I'll talk to you on Instagram.